Was this all a part of Ryan Pohl's plan? He has spoken about flexibility since the day he took the job, but most people have no idea what this means. And I wanted to talk about it today, as well as pitch an idea as to why we might have kept Eberflus for one more season. Let's go ahead and get right into it. One thing that is often overlooked with Ryan Pohl's decision to retain Matt Eberflus heading into the 2024 season was the quality of coaching candidates available last year versus the insane amount of qualified candidates on the market this season. It simply cannot be understated that Ryan Poles is always looking towards the future and planning ahead. He's never short sighted in any of the moves he makes. So, when discussing the decision to retain Matt Eberflus heading into 2024, the quality of candidates available has to be taken into account. And then also the possibility that we were waiting for Ben Johnson or another coach is also on the table. But let's take a look at last year's coaching hires versus this year's candidates. Other than Jim Harbaugh, who reporters say did not want to come here, which one of these coaches did you want to hire last year? Maybe Dan Quinn, but Brian Callahan, Mike McDonald, Dave Canales, come on, man. This year's candidates absolutely trump last year's. It's not even close. Jim Harbaugh is pretty much the only guy from last year's coaching cycle that I would have been happy with. There are so many people reporting that Harbaugh wanted to coach in California. He had success at Stanford and with the 49ers, and to me, he was always destined to take that Chargers job. So, who is the coach you wanted to fire Flus for last year? The one remaining name that might have worked out is Dan Quinn, who just won a playoff game with the Commanders last night while starting rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels. But listen, nobody was excited for the Dan Quinn hire. And there are multiple reports that he wanted to go home to Washington. The best thing about Dan Quinn to me, though, is how great of a job he's done at hiring offensive coordinators. When he was with Atlanta, he had Kyle Shanahan running that offense, and after Kyle Shanahan left, he hired Steve Sarkisian. Currently, Shanahan is the 49ers head coach, and Sarkisian is the coach of the Texas Longhorns. And now Dan Quinn hired Cliff Kingsbury to be his offensive coordinator, and it's worked out again. But if Kingsbury leaves, can Quinn keep this up and find another reliable offensive coordinator? That's the biggest question. But the chances of landing either one of those coaches in Chicago were pretty slim. And this year, the tables have turned. Now we are the top head coach destination in the league. And if you just step back and look at the coaching candidates side by side, this year's class of coaches to me is head and shoulders better than what we would have been looking at last year. Yet not one single person in the national media or local reporters have mentioned this. Instead, they just want to rag on Ryan Poles for not firing Flus last year. But remember how much our GM values flexibility. If he would have fired Flus last year and hired someone like Brian Callahan or Raheem Morris to coach the Bears, then that would have severely limited flexibility for a surprising coaching candidate to come available this year. And there's also the Ben Johnson factor. Rumors have been swirling for a year now that one of the reasons why Ben Johnson didn't take a head coaching job is because he was waiting for the Chicago Bears. And that maybe, just maybe, we didn't fire Eberflus because Ben Johnson wanted one more year in Detroit for unfinished business. If we end up signing Ben Johnson as a head coach soon, this could all make a lot more sense. If not, it's probably just speculation. But this is something that fans need to at least consider. And then we also have to remember that it's simply a fact that Eberflus had this team playing great the second half of last season after that Montez Sweat trade. So there was a lot of reason for optimism heading into 2024. Things did not work out, but the Bears are again in a great position here. Look at all these head coaching candidates. We still have to get it right. That's the most important thing, but the list of candidates is extremely impressive to me. And if you compare it to the candidates available at this time last year, it's not even close. That has to be viewed as a positive if you ask me. So to everyone saying Poles should have fired Flus last year, Okay, then, who would you want to be our head coach right now? And you can't choose most of the candidates that we're interviewing this year because those guys would not have been available. So, like always, context matters. And there's more to the story than the national media or some of our fans want to realize. Could the Bears have fired Flus last year and maybe landed a good coach like Dan Quinn and turned things around as early as this season? It's possible. Nobody's saying that that couldn't have worked out. But the odds of landing a truly great head coach seem a lot better today than they would have a year ago. We're sitting here with an extremely impressive list of potential head coaching candidates. This is a special opportunity we have at hand here, an opportunity to put this rebuild back on the fast track. Ryan Poles has been talking about taking the North since the day he was hired. He never said it was going to happen overnight, but in order for that to happen, he has to get this head coaching hire right, and he has to fix this offensive line. In my opinion, when you just step back and look at it, we have a lot better chance of hiring a great head coach this year than we would have last year. I don't think Jim Harbaugh was coming to the Bears no matter what. And even if we would have hired Dan Quinn, there's no guarantee that things would have worked out like they did in Washington. And when you look at the other head coaches that were hired last year, none of those have worked out very well. So to me, I think the Bears are still in an awesome position here. We have a ton of head coaching candidates that all could turn this franchise around and fast track this rebuild. We just have to narrow it down and pick the one that stands out head and shoulders above the rest. I do not envy Ryan Poles right now because I wouldn't want to be the one making this decision. A lot of fans and people in the media think it's so easy. Oh, just hire this guy or hire that guy. It's not that simple. We have to hire the right guy for the Chicago Bears. And I am so hopeful that Ryan Poles gets this right. But to me, the most important factor that I think most fans are missing is that it's a special time to be a Chicago Bears fan. And that's been the biggest reason for my optimism over the last 3 years and why I started this channel. It's not because I thought we were going to start winning that season. If I thought we were going to start winning 3 years ago, I wouldn't have created this channel to start explaining to people the process of the rebuild. And that's what I've spent 3 years doing. And I still feel like so many people just don't understand it. We have our franchise quarterback. We have young talent on this roster. We have draft picks, and the future of this team is bright. We have to nail this head coaching hire. But I just wanted to talk about that one possibility that's being overlooked, and I'm curious to know what you guys think. I appreciate everyone who watches. Please remember to hit that like button for me. Stay tuned. I have so much content on the way. And until next time, bear down.